Welcome to our
And
second
we're back.
episode. We're back. We are back. So today, Ashley's going to be talking about her experiences on TikTok, which we may have covered a tiny bit in the last episode.
We
We
can't
also
remember.
we're not super sure, but it's worth repeating. She's going to go into way more depth and detail about her experiences on TikTok. She's actually been on since 2019 and to date has 375,000 followers, which is quite an achievement. I'm struggling to get to 10K. We're almost there.
You're probably going to be there by tomorrow.
Yeah, I really might be there by tomorrow. So that's kind of fun. Okay, so Ashley, why did you get on TikTok? Tim tried to actually convince me, my husband, for like 2 years, tried to convince me to get on TikTok. All the while, I know Ashley's on there. I know she's growing. I'm like rooting for her from the sidelines, and I'm just like, nah, I think I'm good. And then by the time I got on, dude, you were at like, what were you even at?
I think I was over 300K.
Yeah, I think you were over 300
when you got on, because you were also my manager before you got on.
Yep, this is true.
But
yeah, go ahead.
So I started on TikTok essentially to kind of keep track of my daughter, because my daughter was on Musical.ly and then on TikTok when it became TikTok. And I would do makeup looks all the time. I would go on Facebook Live, and my daughter was just like, you should get on TikTok. A lot of people do makeup on TikTok. So I was like, okay, whatever, I'll test it out.
Quick question. Were you doing, before you got on TikTok, had you started doing makeup for people? You had, hadn't you?
Yes. Okay. I was a freelance makeup artist for several years, I want to say. Okay. Like 3 years maybe.
Yeah.
I had worked with a boudoir photographer, and that was so much fun. I really miss doing that, but she moved away because she was military. So I worked with her, and I was in like Facebook makeup groups doing makeup, and that kind of goes into stories later on where I talk about different friends. I actually knew a girl from a Facebook makeup group, and then we reconnected through TikTok.
So funny.
I know.
Small world.
But I started doing, I did my first makeup video on TikTok. It was just like me doing my makeup, small little clip of me doing my makeup, and it got like 6,000 views, which at that time was a lot. My daughter was like, I've been on Musical.ly for this like forever, and I've never seen this many views.
Wow.
So I just kept making videos, and I started to grow a following. Got to like 5K pretty quickly. I think I had a pretty like steady growth at first. It wasn't like anything huge, but I was just steadily growing.
Yeah.
And that was in 2019. So I've been on TikTok for 5 years.
Yeah, that's so crazy to think about.
Almost 5 years. That's so crazy to think about. Like, I was on TikTok from the jump.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
That's so wild.
I know, it's crazy to think of. But I started doing makeup videos and all of that. And that's really all that my content was at first.
Yeah.
And then I started like seeing this group of moms that were posting all the time about like women empowerment, and everybody wanted to be friends with them. And I had just recently lost my grandma. And I wanted to fill that void. Like, I wanted friends so badly because, my grandma was the person I talked to every single day. Like, she was my best friend. Like, that relationship is irreplaceable to me.
Yeah.
But I was going through like a phase where I felt very lonely. And I had started to amass a following on TikTok,
Mhm.
and these girls were huge on TikTok, and I was
Yeah.
like, I want to be friends with them.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to be friends with them. Come on.
Yeah.
Like 2020, these girls were it. They were the people you wanted to be friends with if you were a
Yeah.
creator on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I kind of like manifested
Mm.
that I wanted to become friends with them.
Mhm.
And it was something I thought about all the time just because it seemed like they had such a good friendship with each other.
Mm.
And I was just like, I want that. And
Yeah.
I've never really had like a group of
Yeah.
friends. I mean,
Yeah.
I did at one point that you were a part of.
Yeah.
And
Even
that
that
just
was
like
kind of short-lived.
it blew up in my face.
Yeah.
And after that point, like I really just connected with people one on one.
Mhm.
But I always kind of wanted that core group of friends, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, I can remember
You
you
gotta pause.
talking.
You gotta pause.
Oh, okay. So
I don't
quick
remember
question,
what I was saying.
around this time, as you're seeing this group that you kind of want to be a part of, where was your following at around this time?
I think I had like 75K maybe. I
That's what I
don't
was
think I was
thinking.
at 100K
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
because I
I
had that
rem-
one video that went viral, like mega viral. It was the most viral video I had at the time,
yeah.
and it was like 6 million, I think.
Mm,
And that got me to from like 20K to 75K.
wow.
It was just like bam.
I feel like you don't even see that anymore on TikTok.
You don't. You really don't. It's so hard to like continuously or to grow
Hmm.
that quickly on
Yeah.
TikTok now.
Yeah. It just doesn't seem to happen.
I mean, it
Okay.
happens every once in a while, I would say,
Yeah.
for people that get like a super viral video.
Right.
But even when I've had another video go super viral, more views than that,
Yeah.
I didn't get the same amount of following.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Views don't equal follows, that's for sure.
no. Definitely not now.
Right. Back then I feel like it did.
TikTok also is a lot different now.
Yeah.
The algorithm and everything, it's
Yeah.
completely different than it used to be. But
Yeah. Anyways, I can remember you just talking to me about how lonely you were and just very very sad about your grandma passing away, and you were just majorly struggling.
yeah,
You're
I
pretty
was in
lonely.
yeah, I was really I kind of used social media as like a means of an escape.
Mhm.
And I remember like I would be up until like 4 or 5 in the morning making
Mhm.
content
Yeah.
every night
Yeah.
because I was just that's really all I cared about was
Yeah.
TikTok at that point. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously I cared about my family, but like I don't know, it's hard to explain it. I was in a pretty depressive episode, but I didn't tell anybody I was depressed.
Yeah. You just put all of your energy that you had into building this thing that was working. I mean, yeah. I don't blame
It
you.
it took my mind off of things, I think.
Mhm.
And then I became almost obsessed with it
Mm.
and obsessed with, you know, I want this following. I want to be friends with these people. I want to be in the popular crowd.
Mhm.
And I happened to become friends with somebody who lived kind of close by to me. We FaceTimed one night and we just clicked, hit it off right away. And her and I both were just like, oh my gosh, you're my person.
Mhm.
And I made a video about it. I screen recorded our FaceTime call, which was just the video.
Yeah.
And I just put like words to it and music to it, and it went viral.
Mm.
And in the video, I thanked this group of women for bringing us together,
Mm.
and I tagged them. So then all of them started following me,
Mm.
and I started connecting with them.
Mhm.
And
Which is
it was like,
so
oh my
wild.
gosh.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. It's like, oh my gosh, my manifestations came true. Um, but, you know, that quickly went south.
Mm.
Um, we planned a trip to go to, where did we go? Clearwater, I believe. And it was a lot of like bigger influencers.
Mhm.
And I just wanted so badly to make friends.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to go.
Yeah.
Yes, it was cool that they had a following, but it wasn't that aspect to me that was like,
Mhm.
why I wanted to be friends with them.
Yeah.
I wanted to be friends with them because on the internet it looked like they were such like fun, outgoing, just cool people to be friends with.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're content creators too, just like me. So
Yeah.
we can create content together. Like it'll be fun.
Yeah.
But I think a lot, at least a few of them took it as a business
Mm.
opportunity and
Yeah.
not to make friends.
Yeah.
And, the person that I was so close with that I brought on this trip wanted to make sure she went with me. Um, she ignored me the whole time.
Mm.
And I, said something to my other friends about it. And I at that point in time, if I was upset about something, I was terrified to talk to the person about it.
Mm. Yeah.
I was so insecure that I would not tell somebody like, "Hey, this upset me." I would just talk to other people about it to see what they thought.
Mm.
And at the time I was like, I'm not like talking bad about this person. I'm just venting and trying to work things out in my
Mm.
head,
Yeah.
but with another person
Mm.
so that I don't come at this person and upset them.
Yeah. For
That was
no
always my
reason.
thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I've totally been there. I beat the bloody pulpy horse used to be my joke. Like I would just talk about it for to anybody.
Yeah. But honestly, like, I think what I didn't realize at the time is like that is still, it's toxic because
Mhm.
I was so
Yeah.
scared of confrontation. I was scared of being myself, of talking about anything that was upsetting me because of my own traumas,
Mhm.
that I essentially made it seem like I was untrustworthy
Mm. Yeah.
because it was like, well, why is she telling you? Why is she telling
Yeah.
you, she feels this way?
Yeah.
Why isn't she telling me? And it's like, it wasn't out of, being malicious or trying to gossip about somebody. It was just I had so much anxiety,
Yeah.
which, is something I didn't listen to my intuition a lot.
Yeah.
There were times where I had so much anxiety just, being friends with these people, talking to them.
Mm.
I had the most anxiety I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. I remember you telling me about a lot anxiety attacks at Target, and I mean, you were just really going through it.
It was awful, honestly. I
Yeah.
think, you know, one of the girls actually, I'm pause it really quick.
Okay.
So going back to the girls trip that we went on,
Mhm.
I was so uncomfortable. I remember sitting on the couch. There were like 3 or 4 cameras up
Mm.
of girls being live.
Oh my gosh.
And I was so uncomfortable because every time I walked by, I felt huge. I
Oh,
was the only like curvy girl there. They were
yeah.
all like beautiful, thin girls. And I'm just like, I don't fit in here.
Mm,
And they kept being like, oh, come here, come here. And I was like, no, like I just sit on the edge of the couch so that I couldn't be on camera because I felt so insecure. And they kind of kept like, come on, come on. And I finally just like went in the bathroom and started sobbing
mm,
because I was just like, I am so uncomfortable right now.
yeah.
And, you know, one of them did come in, girl, it was my person. She came in and she was talking to me, and she did do a really good job talking me up and trying to talk me out of my insecurities.
Mm.
But like that the
Hey,
entire time that this like heart to heart is happening in the bathroom, the other girls stayed alive.
mm,
And people were telling them in the live, we can hear her.
oh my gosh. Crying in the
And
bathroom.
that was gut wrenching
Yeah.
to know that like my breakdown that happened, everybody could hear live.
Yeah.
And that they were being told we could hear her and they continued to stay alive.
Yeah. Hey, hold on one second.
So yeah, that was just that was really hurtful to know
Yeah.
that. And it made me feel like, okay, these people aren't my friends.
Mm,
They never were my friends.
mm,
And I think the biggest lesson I'll say that I learned through everything I've been through with any of the friends that I've made on TikTok is it's almost like when you meet a guy
mm,
and you like fall in love for the first time, like
mm,
love at first sight.
mhm.
You still go through like that period where you're getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Um, and then eventually, you have like huge fights, you bicker, you don't get along.
Yeah.
I feel like every couple goes through like a toxic phase.
Yeah.
And
It's kinda like the
I
end of the honeymoon phase.
right. And I think that the same thing happens with friendship. But I think
Yeah, it
that
can.
when you're talking to people 24/7, which we were on
Mm,
FaceTime 24/7. When I'm telling you, everything that I did, I was carrying my phone FaceTiming.
mm,
My husband got so upset with me, rightfully so,
yeah.
because I was just on FaceTime all the time.
Mm,
Or I was in the group chat texting.
mm,
And it's like that was so toxic.
mm,
But I didn't see it that way. I was just like, these are my friends. These
yeah,
I if I tell somebody that they're my best friend, I take that so seriously.
yeah.
And it wouldn't matter what you did. I would never like turn my back on you
Mhm.
or be like, I want nothing to do with you.
Yeah,
I don't think I have ever done that. I have never been like, I'm done with you,
yeah.
aside from one person.
Mm.
And that's what we're leading up to. um One of the girls started saying some really crazy stuff on the trip. I'm
Mm,
not going to talk about it. I'm not going to get into that cuz that's her business. It is what it is. It
yeah.
made a lot of us uneasy, like very uneasy.
Mm,
And the other girls told me that since I was riding home with her, that I was going to be the spokesperson of the group and have to talk to her about this.
oh, geez.
And so I'm like having to deal with driving home 5 hours with this person who I'm realizing I don't know at all.
Mm,
And now I'm being told you have to do this. This is your
mm.
responsibility to talk to this person.
Oh gosh.
And then we'll regroup in the morning.
Oh
We'll
geez.
FaceTime in the morning and regroup about it.
Oh my gosh.
Talk about anxiety. And you
How
know,
long how long had you known everybody in the group at this point? Like how long had you
so like I said, as I said before, one of those girls I had known for years from a Facebook makeup group, but we weren't like
Okay.
super close, you know.
Okay.
Um, I would say 3 months,
Okay.
but again, we talked every day, all day.
Yeah.
So it felt like longer
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they say like you need a certain amount of hours to like decide that somebody's like a best friend.
Mm,
So if you're talking every day, all day, that process speeds up much
right.
quicker.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah,
with
I
a guy.
totally get that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I was told to be the spokesperson and to talk to her, which we already established. I don't do confrontation.
Yeah.
I literally felt like my heart had like dropped to my butt while I'm trying to have this conversation with her.
Oh my
And
gosh.
she's crying and I'm just like I don't know what to do.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm, kind of deciding like okay, maybe this isn't a friendship that I want to be a part of. Maybe
Mm,
I jumped the gun.
mm.
But then, we regroup the next morning. The other girls and I get on a FaceTime, and one of the girls is like, "Okay, we're gonna add her to the FaceTime." She gets on this FaceTime, and one of the girls just completely obliterates her,
Oh my gosh.
and the other girl and I are just like silent,
Oh.
and it was just like a complete like just attack, full on attack.
Oh my
First, it
gosh.
was like, okay, how are you doing? How's everything going? Like, let's make sure you're okay mentally. And then when she's like, yeah, I'm okay, everything's okay now, attack. Like, that's exactly how it was.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm just like, I, the reason that I was so anxious all the time is because of this behavior.
Mm.
I didn't realize how much negative energy was being brought and that I was just like sitting in all the time, taking in all this negative energy.
Wow.
And it was a lot. It was a lot.
Mm.
And honestly, it makes me sick that I ever was even a part of a FaceTime like that.
Yeah.
Because what ended up happening later on, which we'll probably talk about in a different episode, um, I had the same thing happen to me.
Mm.
I was completely verbally attacked on a FaceTime call to the point where my husband was like, "Why are you listening to this? Hang up." I'm like sobbing.
Oh my gosh.
It's just mean girl behavior.
Yeah.
And the other thing I should probably point out is that I am a lot older than a
Mhm.
lot of those girls.
Yeah.
And I just was like, "Oh, it doesn't matter." Like, no, it matters.
Yeah, it certainly can.
But I was emotionally immature at that point.
Mm. Yeah.
I didn't know how to handle things. I didn't know how to talk to people. I was not in a place to be a good friend at that point in my life.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
wanted to be.
Yeah.
I didn't go into any of these friendships with bad intentions.
Yeah.
And I would say going into that, after that phone call and us deciding, like, as a group, we all decided we're not going to be friends with her anymore.
Mm.
So let's all come up with excuses.
Oh my gosh.
I'm pretty sure, like, all of us in the, like, they wanted, I think they had me start it. Like, yeah, I'm just really busy right now. I'm not going to have time to be in the group chat. Like, pretty much the group chat, like, fizzled out because they wanted her out, which I did
Um,
too. I mean,
yeah.
we all collectively agreed with this, but it was just like, looking back on it, I feel so bad for her.
Yeah.
Like, looking back on the behavior and how everything was done, I felt terrible, which I have reached out and apologized. I've done that multiple times.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be a part of that behavior anymore.
Yeah.
Um I started to slowly realize, like, wow, this is toxic,
Yeah.
because after that happened, drama ensued all over the internet,
Mm.
and her husband was calling us the three little pigs,
Mm.
and we were posting videos mocking it, and also at her extent,
Mm.
and it was just gross, disgusting behavior,
Mm.
and I wish I had never been a part of it.
Yeah.
And it makes me really sad that I ever made somebody feel ostracized like that.
Mm. Yeah.
You know, at the time I was like, listen, like, this is toxic. I can't be around this because I will become toxic, which was so true. I was
Mm.
like, if I'm around toxicity, I will become toxic.
Mm.
And I did become toxic.
Yeah.
I was completely toxic.
Mm.
And I will own that all day long.
It's so hard when you're in a group like that, and it kind of can become an echo chamber. And, if, especially if somebody's kind of leading the whole, parade, you can feel like there's obligation to go along with what's happening. And it can be really hard. And especially with where you were at, like, you wanted friends, you wanted to fit in, you were trying to have these relationships, and it came at the expense of other people getting hurt, which can sometimes happen. I mean, not that I'm not trying to excuse any of it, obviously,
Yeah.
but I feel like this sort of situation happens more often than people would probably think
Oh, for sure. For
within TikTok,
sure.
outside of TikTok group. I mean, yeah, definitely, definitely.
And I think the point where I decided that I wanted to apologize to her was when I'm hearing, like, the most foul things I've ever heard in my life being
Mm,
said about her.
mm,
And I was just like, I would laugh. I would 100% laugh.
mm,
And it was just gross. Like,
mm,
I started to realize, like, you're saying all of these horrible things about her.
mm,
Like, what are you saying about me? And then that made me
mm,
super anxious in that
mm.
friend group.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that trickled into, my insecurities and the big FaceTime call where
Yeah.
I was just verbally assaulted.
Mm.
And basically told that everything that I do is wrong.
Oh, geez.
I believe one of the things said was like, you literally just talk to hear yourself.
Oh,
to seem
geez.
important. You literally just talk to seem important. Like you don't actually have something to say.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
And I was
Gosh.
like, I was literally sobbing. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like I'm not I didn't try. I wasn't trying to make somebody upset. One of the girls blocked me because I asked to take a picture with my two best friends at the time because I didn't ask her to be in the picture.
Oh, geez.
She said that was mean girl behavior, but waited until, I mean, literally, it was after we had gone to dinner together. She was fine with me at dinner, but then got home and blocked me.
Wow. My facial expressions right now are just like,
When I literally went
yikes.
to Florida because she was like, I'm going to be in Florida, you know, visiting this other girl. I want you to come. Like, please come. I made arrangements. I had a 3-year-old son at the time.
Yeah.
I made arrangements to go down there.
Yeah.
And then I'm like texting them, like, what's going on? Like, what are we doing? And it would be like crickets. And then
Oh
it would
my
be like,
gosh.
oh, you can come here, meet us here. And they were there for all of like an hour.
Mm.
And then it was like biting, or not biting. What's that expression?
Pulling teeth.
Pulling teeth. It was like pulling teeth to get them to tell me like their next location.
Oh my
And I'm like,
gosh.
why did I drive 3.5 hours, come stay at
Uh,
my friend's house for this to be what's happening?
yeah.
And then
And for
you
nobody
blocked
to
me?
say anything or
Yeah, and then you
gosh,
blocked me and I'm like, what did I do?
jeez.
It was just it was crazy. It was crazy.
Mm,
And I was shattered
yeah.
because I trusted these girls.
Mm,
And after that FaceTime call was when I was really like, wow, that's how it feels.
mm,
And then I reached out to the other girl and apologized to her. Well, actually, I reached out to her husband
mm,
because she had me blocked.
yeah.
And her husband was like, "Oh, you know, she'll come around. Like, I know she misses you, blah, blah, blah." So I'm like, "Okay, cool." But then I get on a call with her because he's finally like, "Okay, you know, she wants to talk to you." And she acts like she wants nothing to do with me.
Hmm.
So I don't know where the miscommunication was there,
Yeah.
but it's just a lot. There's so much more to it, but the thing about it that I want anybody to take away from it was my behavior
Yeah.
because of how much I have grown and learned in that process. And I really feel like it was it was good for me because it was a teaching moment for me
Mhm.
and it was a lesson to be learned
Yeah.
that I had never learned because I'd never been a part of something like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I will never be a part of something like that again.
Yeah. Gosh. It's so crazy that even as adults, like even at our age or however old, early 30s, that this kind of stuff is.
Well, and you know what? Maybe it's because I was sheltered when I was a teenager, so I didn't really have like groups of girlfriends like that.
See, the group of friends that you're familiar with that I had like in college, there's been some bumps in the road, okay? There's been some situations, but it's usually it's always really just been just one person that's kind of dealing with stuff or not being not showing up in the same way that the rest of us were showing up, I guess is a better way to put it. But never the drama of getting on a FaceTime call and mean girling. I mean, there's always gonna, I'm sorry, but where there's girls, there's gonna be drama,
Yeah, for
you know.
sure. I mean,
But to that extent, no. Not always.
well, and then the worst thing was after all of that, because I didn't do something that they wanted me, or I did something that they didn't want me to do. I went on a like tea page,
Oh yeah.
which I wish I never would have done that.
Mm,
I literally had no makeup on. I'm like crying, like hysterically crying. I thought I
mm,
had to clear my name so badly
yeah.
that I was hearing that like one of the girls was telling people like I told her to go off herself. And I was like, I need to set the record straight with this
Yeah.
because I would never say that.
Yeah. Oh my
And
gosh.
so I got on this T page because everybody was like, yeah, girl, clear your name. You know, one of her other ex friends was going on this T page, talking about her experience. And I was like, I'll come on there too and like show my solidarity.
Mm,
Worst decision I could have made.
mm,
Um, People just obliterated me.
yeah.
And I could not handle it at that moment.
Mm,
And it started a chain reaction
mm,
down the line that lasted for years.
mm,
Years of harassment, years of false stories,
yeah.
being saying that I called somebody's work to get them fired, that I called CPS.
Mm,
What?
yeah.
Who does that?
Yeah.
Like, first of all, what kind of person does that?
Yeah.
And second of all, for you to tell people I'm doing that, where are you getting your information?
Yeah. It was
And
constant. I mean, I can remember it was like every 3 months or so, I feel like you were dealing with backlash from that situation. I mean, it literally, I mean, I can confirm that it was like years of people like reporting your videos for no reason. I mean, it was a lot. And there were times where you were like, I feel like I need to say something. And I was just like, Ashley, I just don't, like, now is not the time. And I don't want you to feel like you need to defend yourself. And, the hope is kind of just that things, go away at some point.
eventually they did.
Yeah.
But it was such a long road and I felt like I would never get through it.
Yeah.
I felt like it was never going to end.
Mhm.
And it honestly like drove me to therapy.
Yeah.
You know, I
Which
was
was
having
great for
panic
you.
attacks
Yeah.
and I was just like I don't know what to do.
Mhm.
I quit drinking alcohol. I was doing whatever I could to try to fix myself
Mhm.
because I was like at this point I don't know what else I can do. If I because it matters how I react to it
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
how I take things. If it doesn't bother me, you can say whatever you want about me. Right now, you can say whatever you want about me.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
It's just I had to get to that point with
Mhm.
myself.
Yeah.
I had to love myself. I had to realize that like I'm not a bad person.
Mm.
I never did anything maliciously. I never had bad intentions. I never was like I want to hurt somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, that I can say 100%. I never wanted to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Did I end up hurting people? Absolutely.
Mm.
But I feel like that's life.
Yeah.
And I own the mistakes that I've made.
Yeah. This is why I know we haven't even delved into this topic
Dove.
yet. Delved into
Delve.
just the reason why we should give forgiveness so freely, because we need forgiveness. Like, we make mistakes as humans. We don't always do the right thing. Obviously, I have kind of a biblical perspective about it, as I would, but just in general, we do bad things. Like, we make mistakes, we do things unintentionally, we get caught up in different things that are happening, and we don't always make the right choice. And I think we long to have forgiveness, but because we know, like, if we're self-reflectant enough, which I believe you're being right now, and therapy has helped you with tremendously. I've known you
Oh
for
yeah.
years. You've been so different since therapy. Just in terms of self-reflection and realizing all these different things. And but when we realize the mistakes that we've made, we understand that other people make mistakes and they deserve forgiveness. Or maybe deserve isn't even the right word, but it's like, forgive so you can be forgiven. Almost like, if you think somebody it can't be forgiven, what does that say about what the things that you've done? Like, do you not deserve forgiveness either? Like, when we look at things in that perspective, it's like, we need to. And maybe going through all of that, getting into therapy, and never really fully telling your side of the story, maybe it's because you needed to be at this point where you could take ownership over what you've done. You've had the time to self-reflect and think about what you've done. And instead of focusing on what everyone else did, you're saying, I did wrong and
Oh,
I'm
for sure.
sorry for it, you know? So,
Yeah, I think I had a victim mentality for a while. And
mhm,
it was like, I can't believe that they did this to me. I can't believe this. I can't believe that. And it's like, you seemed like you were a shady person because you
mm,
were going and talking to this person about what this person's doing
yeah,
because you had so much anxiety and didn't want to confront the person because you were scared of confrontation. So
mhm,
I even made a TikTok video about it. It was
yeah,
like how to not accidentally be a shitty friend.
yeah,
And I was.
mm, yeah,
I mean, that's point blank, period. I 100% own everything that I've done. However, I think that a lot of situations could be fixed with communication
mhm,
by
yeah,
being like blocked, unfollow, out of my life.
mhm,
You're never going to know,
yeah,
if that person was a true friend or not.
mhm,
If you just take it as, "Oh, they messed up. See you later." I've never believed in that.
yeah.
There have been times with you and I where you have said something that made me mad. But then I sit on it and I'm like, this is Marla we're talking about.
Yep.
I believe that this happened recently where I was just like, listen, I love you, but I don't want your opinion on this.
Yeah, there was something not too long ago where you were like, "I think this is off the table for us to talk about," and I was like, "That's fine."
Right. And that's all you have to do. You don't just have to sit there and be like, oh,
Yeah,
mm. It's,
yeah,
I think the whole like I think ghosting is extremely toxic
yeah. I'm not a fan.
because I think that it literally can deteriorate the other person's mental health.
Mhm.
because they have no idea what they did. And I've seen all these statuses where it's like, "Oh, you're an adult. You should know what you did."
Yeah.
We're not
No.
mind readers.
Right. Oh gosh. I've been saying
Anything
that for
could
years.
upset someone.
Yeah. And you're not the other person. You don't have the
Right.
same triggers as I do. I don't have the same triggers as you do. We haven't lived the same life. What's obvious to my husband that isn't obvious to you or anyone else. And frankly, it shouldn't even be obvious to my husband that he's done something wrong. If he's done something wrong, I should be like, "Hey, I don't like this." Not silent treatment, not, "Oh,
Yeah,
you know,
not
I
you
don't
know what
agree.
you did. You
I
know
don't
what you
agree
did.
with that any of that either. It's immaturity and lack of communication, and it doesn't show that there is any desire to resolve it when you're
And then
not
that
even
person
willing.
meant nothing to you.
Yeah, it
Like
feels
that
that way. Yeah,
Well, no, it is that way. That
yeah,
person obviously was not important to you, and
yeah,
you led them on. Just like with a relationship, if a guy ghosts you,
yeah,
he led you on.
yeah,
You weren't important enough to that guy for him to be like, "Hey, here's what's happening." No,
yeah, yep,
I cannot, I will never and can never get on board with ghosting.
yeah, I'm not a fan of it.
And I also
Resolving.
believe you can have timeouts with people.
Yeah, I've had timeouts with people,
You can go no
definitely.
contact with somebody. And then, you know, I have gone out no contact with family because
Mhm.
it wasn't good for my mental health.
Yeah,
At the time, I could not handle it.
yeah,
So I went no contact until I was at a place where I could set boundaries
mhm,
and where I could speak up for myself.
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
In situations like that, do people usually say like, "Hey, I'm not talking to you"? Like, I don't know how that works normally.
The way that I handled it was like, listen, I am not going to basically, if you continue to disrespect my boundaries, we're done. Like I'm not gonna be you're not gonna be in my life if you're gonna disrespect my
Yeah,
boundaries.
yeah,
And it's like if they keep on or they're not understanding or whatever else,
mhm,
it's just like, okay,
yeah,
I told you.
mhm, yep. And I've had friends who d somebody people that aren't you, who have said, like, they've been pretty frustrated at some hard truths or some disagreement that I felt like I was giving them, and there was a period of time where we didn't talk for a while, and then typically those people have come back around and realized kind of the same thing that you realize is that it's Marla we're talking about. Like I'm not saying this in a prideful way, but just a factual way. Like I am one of the most loyal people that you can have as a friend.
I would
I
say
have
I am too, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've had friendships with people for years, like my whole life. People that I don't talk to on a regular basis, but I'm still friends with. We've had ups and downs.
Hmm.
Um and I've kind of learned and grown through those relationships. Um but yeah, when you're confident in that relationship that you have with that person, I feel like that's something that's like pretty key. Like when you're confident in that relationship, like you should be with a best friend or your husband, your spouse, your significant other. Like these are people in our lives that it's never easy to hear a hard truth or to hear a disagreeing statement. But when we know it's coming from people whom we love, who we've had friendship relationships with for years, who we're married to, we should take it a little bit differently than a
Yeah.
stranger in the comments section who we might immediately block. Like these aren't those people, like these are
Yeah.
people who know us, who love us, who care, and let's not forget, have worked up the courage to say the thing. You went dealing with you didn't have the courage to say these things to people. It was very hard. But when you
Yeah.
get to a point where you do have that courage and you say the hard things, you have even more respect for the people who come and say those things to you because you know how difficult it is to there's been so many times where I've sent text messages to you and I've been like, I hope that's okay, or like, I hope that wasn't too. Don't you remember? Like, I've said these, I'm
Yeah.
like, I hope that, like, I hope you know that I'm saying this with love, or like, I hope you know that, like, I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't wasn't concerned, or, like, and you're like, Marla,
I
you're
know.
good. Like, I'm always like blowing it out of proportion
But
in my
I do
mind.
too. I do too. I'll be like, I love you."
Yeah, yeah. And and it's you work through those situations, but like you said, when you really care about that relationship, you're going to invest the time in to having those hard conversations and communicating with people. And when you don't feel the need to do that, or you don't want to do that, well, that speaks volumes about how you feel about that friendship or that relationship.
And that was the hardest thing, was like coming to terms with, like, I invested so much into these friendships because I
Mm,
really, really cared about these people. Like, I
mhm.
mean, we had our kids around each other, our husbands, like,
Yeah.
it it wasn't just like us as a friendship. Like, we
Yeah.
stayed at their house, and like, one of the girls literally sent me this text one year. um I think it was Valentine's Day, and she was like, "Happy Valentine's Day, like, I'm so glad that we're best friends, and you have the biggest heart of anyone I know," and like, just the sweetest message. And I'm like, how could you go from that to within months,
Mm,
like, teaming up with somebody,
yeah.
obliterating my family on the internet, and
Yeah.
then blocking me
Yeah.
without ever having a conversation with me?
Yeah.
Mind you, was around my family a week before that happened.
Mm. Yeah, I know what you're referring to. Yeah, it's crazy.
I just don't get it.
Yeah,
And
I know.
it's fine. Like,
Yeah.
I'll probably never get closure on that, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I have come to terms with that. That
Mhm.
is completely fine.
Yeah.
I have always also said, there are people in my life who weren't healed,
Mm.
and they have done things to me, but I have healed.
Yeah.
And if I have changed and grown and evolved and become a better person, they can too.
Yeah.
So if
Yep.
anybody has healed
Mhm.
and they feel remorse for what they've done, or they have self reflected and they want to talk to me, I'm completely open to that. I
Yeah.
am the last person to be like, "No, I don't want to talk to you."
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
But I feel like also when people know that they've done you wrong, they stay away from you.
They do. They do. They avoid you like the plague. They don't wanna be confronted with it.
No.
And it's sad because there's so much freedom in that. Like, I honestly just feel sad for people who don't deal with that kind of stuff, because it's like you're in chains. Like, you're so bound to those things. Like, even if they think they're not, I don't know. I beg to differ, I guess.
Well, and it's the thing is like, if you don't have those conversations, you could be losing out on a really good friendship.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's what I think people don't realize. Like, it's like, "Oh, mm, your energy is ugly," or "I don't like this vibe," or I am
Mhm.
all about good vibrations and good energy and all of that. But at the
Yeah.
same time, you can take a time out and
Mhm.
go, "You got negative energy going on right now. Until you can fix that,
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk to you. Come back to me when you have good energy.
Yeah.
Come back to me when you're not gossiping. Come back to me when
Mm.
you've gotten all this out of your system.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard when you're in the middle of a conversation with people and they start gossiping.
Oh,
It's so hard because it's like, oh my gosh, this
and it's
feels
hard to know what
wrong.
constitutes as gossiping.
And yeah, and even that definition can be sticky and tricky sometimes. I've
Well,
kind of,
that's go ahead.
oh, I was going to say, I feel like recently I've been able to kind of narrow it down a bit, but for me, it seems like when people are sharing information about someone that isn't like public knowledge, that is a secret or something private, um, and or it's like a speculation, think like tabloids and
I think
that
there's
kind of
also a
thing.
little bit of a difference. Like if you're talking about a situation with like a close friend of yours who doesn't know the other person,
Mm,
I feel
yeah.
like that's not really gossiping. If you're not like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she did that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're just like, oh my gosh, my friend is dealing with this or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah. I
not
think
in
in
a negative way.
negative way. Yeah. Intentions matter for sure. They always do. And then I think when, especially if you're not naming names,
Yeah.
I feel like, or I don't know, it can be tricky, but I feel
When
like
I feel like
intentions
for a
are,
long time, I didn't want to talk about my truth because I didn't want it to be gossip. I didn't want it to be tea.
mm,
Um, but you know what? It's my truth. I'm not
yeah.
saying names. And if people can put two and two together that followed me years ago,
Yeah.
great for them. But that's not the
Most
purpose
people.
of me talking about it.
Ah, shoot. Hold on. Technical difficulties.
Do, 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 do.
Sorry, is that my whole booty in the shot? I just got a notification that like my computer is about to die, and I'm like, ah! It's more important that my computer not die than everybody have good lighting on my face right
That's true.
now. Okay. Well, are there any closing remarks? We're almost at an hour. Wasn't sure
I
if there was
know.
anything you felt like you.
Let's see. I think I went over. Oh wait. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Okay.
I went over everything. I would say I don't know. It feels good to like talk about it. I honestly hope that even one of the girls listens to this because I think clarity is needed.
Yeah.
And nothing is unforgivable to me.
Yeah.
I have forgiven them for
Yeah.
my own self, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like
So if
any
they're out
friendship
there,
can be salvaged.
yeah, if they're out there listening and you want to reach out to Ashley, slide into the DMs. There
And it
might be
doesn't mean that we
friendship
have
on
to
the
be
other.
friends again. I just feel like even just a conversation
Yeah. Yep. The door
because
is open.
we're all just here having
Mhm.
our life experience in our meat suit.
Yep. Good old meat suits. Love a good meat suit.
I would love
Oh
to.
man. Anyways, good stuff. I don't know what our next episode's going to be about necessarily, but
I think I think it's kind of we're going to go into more about the toxicity of TikTok, right?
oh yes, I'm going to kind of share my experience of being on TikTok over the last, oh, maybe year and a half, would you say?
Has it been that long?
I don't know. I think it's been over a year. I mean, I'm starting to get like a lot of those this day. a
On
year
this day,
ago.
yeah. Then it
So
would have to be at least a year
I
ago.
think it's been at least a year, but yes, I will definitely share my TikTok and
Mhm.
social media woes, and that'll be that'll be interesting because you sure don't get to talk about it a lot on social media. They will make sure that your posts do not get seen.
That's very true. But
So this is
drama. You got some
drama.
drama. TikTok loves the drama.
Oh yeah, they'll stir that up and send it straight out to everybody. But you want to talk about your issues with social media addiction, it'll be a little bit
Yeah.
harder.
Yeah, no,
But
they won't talk about that. But then is it next episode where we will have a guest?
possibly we might have a guest. Yeah. She would be a good one to chime in on that kind of thing.
She would be a
Mhm.
great one.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we could also talk about a little bit about the group chat that her and I were in
Oh boy.
and
Man,
her
oh man.
experience with all of that too, because that's a
Sheesh.
whole nother story.
Yeah. And this poor person has experienced more hate
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
than anybody.
And she is the most beautiful soul.
Yes, she is very, very sweet.
Love her so much.
Very
She is a
encouraging.
friendship that has panned out on TikTok.
Yeah.
And we've honestly been friends longer than anybody that I was friends with
Yep.
on
Yep.
TikTok. I
She's
think
been
we're going
around
on
for
like 3 years now, 4 years, something like that.
yeah. We'll get with her and get something scheduled. But anyways, that is all. Um, so be sure to just a reminder, these are our social media handles for TikTok and Instagram. Um, and then the show, of course, Your AM Wake Up Call is
Hmm.
the name of our Instagram and TikTok, as well as the podcast. Obviously, you found us if you're listening to us. You can watch it on YouTube, same name, and be sure to share the episode with somebody if you feel like it would be helpful for them. And you can also email us at youramwakeupcall@gmail.com if you have questions or comments. And any of
Anything that
those,
you want to talk about?
yeah, anything that you would like us to address or talk about or share, like our individual perspectives on, we're happy to do that too. But
Absolutely. I think it was a good second episode.
yeah.
I think it was good for me to put it all out there
Hmm.
and to take accountability
Yeah.
100%
And
because
to kind of send a it's kind of a cautionary tale to, think about, you know, the relationships that you have with people. And even though sometimes things feel stronger, sometimes time and knowing each other matters. And sometimes going and being with a bunch of other people that you maybe don't have relationships with as strongly, to be careful and to be cautious and communicate intentions. Going on a business trip is very different than going on like a girls' hangout trip. Um,
yeah.
things like that. So communication is key, intentions are key as always. And yeah.
And just look at your friendships with people and see if you're exhibiting any of those toxic behaviors.
Mm,
And have the conversations you need to have because
yeah.
a lot can be misconstrued
Yep.
without communication.
Yep. And it's never too late to turn around and change and be somebody better and kinder, and
Never too late.
never
Never
too
too
late.
late.
Nope. All right. Love y'all.
Love you. Bye. See you next time.